If you're my age, Zac Efron's childhood probably deeply impacted your childhood.
Ayo. Do you want to play basketball or do theater?
I did buy this. So today we're taking a look at how Zac got into shape for his newest movie, The Iron Claw. Before we look at the workout and decide if his trainer has any clue what he's talking about, let's first look at the demands of the role. The Iron Claw is a biographical film about the Von Erichs, a family of professional wrestlers believed to be cursed by tragedy. The drama. Zac plays Kevin Von Erich, and the movie is named after a signature move the family performed in the ring. Now, after hearing the plot and watching clips online, I have not spent the $20 to rent it on Apple Plus yet. We can see that it is an active role. And after reading a few different articles, including one in Men's Health that I will link below, it seems like the actors actually performed all of their own stunts. So in the context of the film, they are actually wrestling. But we need to remember something. It is choreographed. So they know what's coming, AKA they are still acting. So yes, according to these articles, they did their own stunts, but these are choreographed stunts done with people who oversee, choreograph everything, and make sure that everything is as safe as possible. So are they actually wrestling? No, they are acting as wrestlers. I just need to make that distinction. You'll understand why in a moment. We're gonna jump into the training. So since Zac is portraying a real person who played a real life sport, we actually have something to go off of what he should look like. Fucking huge. Zac definitely needed to bulk for this role. And bulking is essentially a process where you go into a calorie surplus to gain mass. There's lots of ways you can do this. You can do a clean bulk, meaning that like you eat all good foods. There's no good or bad foods, but I'm just putting that in there as an easy way to think about it, versus a dirty bulk where you would eat like trash, right? And then your movement is going to heavily impact how you utilize that fuel to define your body. That's not really what this video is about. I don't really care about what Zac ate. All we need to focus on is that Zac needed to get big. Big muscles, big physique, while still maintaining the athleticism needed to perform the choreographed wrestling in this movie. So if you want to get big, aka build some juicy ass muscle, you're going to focus on hypertrophy training. Typically speaking, hypertrophy training is going to be 3 to 5 sets of, let's say, 6 to 15 reps. And that intensity is typically going to be 30 to 80% of your 1 rep max, depending on the exercise that you're focusing on. If we're comparing this to working just for strength, so you're just focused on lifting heavy things, you don't care what you look like, that's going to be much lower rep, typically like 1 to 5 reps. You're going to be working more like 70 to 100% of your 1 rep max, and your rest time is going to be way higher because that type of training is going to be a lot more taxing on your nervous system. And you're just working for something a little bit different. There is crossover between strength and hypertrophy. I'm not saying you're not going to get strong if you're working to build visible muscle, but the focus is a little bit different. And remember, this is an actor playing a role where he needs to look like a wrestler and perform different wrestling movements. So the main goal here is get big, and he will get strong along the way. So we're going to take a look at the exercises that his trainer, Farron Morgan, discusses in this article from GQ. Now, let me just preface this with saying that I can't really tell if this is a workout routine that Zac ever did. It's kind of phrased as like, if you want to try and get big like Zac, here's what you can do. Either way though, the goal is still the same. Get huge. So we're gonna see if this routine will get you there. So the first thing the trainer says before jumping into any of the exercises is aim to perform 3 sets of 6 reps, gradually working your way up to 5 sets of 10 reps when that becomes easy. Yeah, I love that really simple, progressive approach. We're off to a good start. So then Farron goes into 5 exercises that he would recommend if you want to get big like Zac. I also love the fact that we're keeping the exercises pretty concise. I don't typically do more than like 4 to 6 exercises in a training day. If you know how to properly challenge yourself, you don't need more than that. First exercise, overhead squat. Jesus Christ. Let's talk about overhead squats. This is where you're going to hold presumably a barbell over your head and then squat. This severely limits the amount of weight that you can move. Why? Because you're holding it over your head. It's also just very tricky for people to figure out how to keep that proper stacking of your ribs over your pelvis. There's mobility issues that a lot of people have trying to do all of this at the same time. And we have to go back to the why. The why is to get huge. Overhead squats, you're gonna get like really good at overhead squats. There's some benefits there. Like you get to work on a lot of different mobility things. It's a cool party trick, but it's not gonna get you that big. If you wanna get big, you gotta get some weight on that bar. I would actually recommend instead just doing a good old-fashioned barbell back squat. Personally, I don't like doing these, but my goal isn't to get absolutely gigantic. If you add these in your programming and you really load the weight up, you stick to it for a while, you're gonna get huge. If you're also feeding your body in a way that promotes that. I don't want people thinking that they're gonna go to the gym and look like Zac Efron from the Iron Claw. Relax. So I do understand that Zac did his own stunts. So if I had to guess, the trainer is probably thinking like, oh, well, Zac needs to be able to lift someone else over his head and then throw them down and squat while he does it. So that's functional. He's not a real wrestler, guys. He's an actor who needs to look like a wrestler and perform the stunts that were choreographed for him. The law of specificity is kind of key here. Zac needs to get big to look like this real life person. So let's do that in the gym and get him bulletproof. Pass him off to the stunt coordinator or the choreographer, nice and strong, nice and healthy, so then they can do their job. And then we get lots of takes and lots of edits to make it look like this man is a real wrestler, which he is not. Let's move on to the next exercise. Pull-ups. Great, that's a great option. Pull-ups are an amazing exercise just for daily function, for the strength of your shoulders and of your back. But in terms of hypertrophy, because you're using your own body weight, you have the opportunity to really get some huge lats here. And the nice thing too here is that you can weight these up by adding like a belt with, some plates on it. So if Zac Efron is just busting out reps and needs something more challenging, you can still add some weight to it. It's a great compound lift. It's very challenging, but it's also very easy to progress based off of adding weight, changing the tempos. I approve. Back extension. You'll need a back extension bench for this one and a weight plate. So you stand, in the equipment, hold the weight, lean forward, so you make a V, and then slowly raise your up. Oh, so we're not even doing this for glutes. We're doing this for the back. Wrestlers, they got that ripped lower back. Okay. Again, the goal. Get big. Sure, you could make the argument that we're trying to bulletproof the low back so when he's performing his choreographed wrestling on set, he doesn't get injured. I don't know. You know what's going to do that just as well? Deadlifts. And you know what deadlifts are going to do more of? Building muscle. So I would actually instead add in deadlifts. I wouldn't do it in the same workout, but if we're looking for something comparable, let's say we do want to strengthen the low back, deadlifts would be a great option. I'm going to say something really controversial, especially for me, but again, this isn't my training. I don't really necessarily think you need the deadlifts if your goal is just to get super big. Actually, the squats are going to do more of that. That's going to be a better route to get there. And if you're adding in the deadlifts too, just be really careful about where you place them in your split because those squats are going to fatigue the crap out of you. So you just want to make sure you have enough recovery before you go into deadlifts. Otherwise, your low back is going to be like, what the? Next exercise, weighted leg raise. Yeah, this can be a great one for the abs, for the hip flexors. He obviously got some wild looking definition in his abs for this movie. So this obviously did the trick if he actually did this. But if we want that really solid definition, I would actually choose a straight up flexion drill rather than just a hip flexion drill. We want spinal flexion because that's what the abs do. I have talked about this before, but I don't just think of the abs as training for their action. I also like to think of them functionally, and the abs are part of the core, and part of the core's main goal is to strengthen and stabilize the spine. So I would make the argument that a leg raise is great for your abs from a stabilizing standpoint, but from a building standpoint, which is the point of this, it's not the best option. Instead, honestly, I would do weighted decline sit-ups. You could also do this at a cable machine, like a kneeling cable crunch, because then you can add weight to it. So it's a fine option, but I would choose something different for the purpose of this type of training. And then finally, our last exercise is an incline bench press. I love this exercise, but I am curious as to why an incline. So an incline bench press is going to target more of the upper fibers of the chest. But if I'm just looking at the rest of this programming, we've already got 2 vertical upper body drills. We've got an overhead squat and a pull-up. And then this drill does kind of track a little bit more vertical. So I'm just why not do a horizontal push instead? And you can load that up more. So if you want a big chest, big shoulders, just a flat, normal, stable chest press is going to get you huge. I don't know, just why mess with a good thing? Also, why is this last? This should be like a staple. This should be like a main exercise. Like, why are we wasting all this energy on back extensions and leg raises before we do a bench press? That doesn't make any sense. We want visible muscle growth. You've probably lost all your energy at this point to really even load it up. This workout makes no sense. Okay, recap. In terms of just a basic workout, it's fine at best. There is no real strategy here. What do we have? We have a knee dominant exercise, a vertical pull, an accessory exercise for the low back, an accessory exercise for the abs, and a vertical-ish push. Like, honestly, none of the exercises put together in one workout really makes sense to me. It's not a pull day, it's not a push day, it's not an upper body day, it's not a lower body day. It's just a day. So the big takeaway here is that we need to remember that actors are not the actual people they're portraying. They are in a controlled environment. And I think that we need to remember that as a trainer, you want to get this person as specifically trained as they need to be, but the aesthetics are probably the most important part. I will say though, this was still worlds better than the Baywatch workout that Men's Health posted of Zac Efron. I know that was like 4 or 5 years ago. I never made a video about it, but let me know if you would like me to talk about that because it was terrible. Also, let me know if there's any other celebrity workouts you would like me to discuss. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. I still love you, Zac Efron, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.